Welcome back, guys. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are getting a lot more serious than I was last week with my fall haul. If you haven't seen that video, check that video out. And this week, we're getting into it. I wasn't really thinking that I was gonna get this serious so soon. Back to making my videos, only third video in, and this is it. This channel I have not made for myself. I have made to give God the glory in my life, and that's really what I have been learning this last year. And there's a story that I have not told too many people, like maybe 2 people. And I've been feeling God laying it on my heart to share it more with others, and it's difficult for me to share. But then this last week, I met this sweet, wonderful woman that I had not met before. We had apparently crossed paths a couple times being at the same events, but this was the first time we had ever talked. And we both shared some amazing stories of how God has been working in our lives, and before we even knew each other's name. And after that night, I was like, okay, I'll share. So here we go. I made a video a long time ago after my pregnancy with Toby, my 4th child, about my experience with postpartum depression. It was the first time I had experienced postpartum depression, and it was miserable. You can get more details on that over in that video. But today, I want to start from the end of that postpartum depression. I had postpartum depression for about 5 months and got out of it for 3 months. I had 3 amazing months of feeling normal, of feeling joyful again, and it was wonderful. And I was ready for a 4-year break of feeling wonderful and amazing and not stepping back into the newborn phase again until my kids were out of diapers. That just sounded wonderful to me. So fast forward 3 months later, I take a pregnancy test and it comes up positive. I was crushed. Completely crushed. I went through every negative feeling possible. There were no positive feelings at all about seeing a positive on my pregnancy test. And I didn't know what to do. And this is where it gets hard for me. Those 5 months of depression, of postpartum depression for me, were horrible. The worst thing that I've ever gone through. I didn't even get out of bed some days. And the 3 months of being out of it were so amazing. It was dark and light, night and day contrast of those experiences. And the reason why I wanted a 4-year break was to get out of the baby phase, to start fresh and anew before we brought another child into our family. And when I saw that positive, it just, in my mind, it was, here we go again. I've had 3 months of feeling great and normal after what to me felt like a living hell that I had just lived through. And I was not ready to do it again. So I didn't want to tell my husband about it. I didn't want to tell anyone about it. I was so upset. But thankfully, in hindsight, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I was so ticked off that my husband found out right away, because I couldn't hide it. He knew that something was wrong, and that I was just upset about something. So we started telling people about the pregnancy, thinking like, well, maybe if I start sharing it and acting like I'm happy about it, then I'll start enjoying it. And what happened was everybody else was excited for us and happy, and they were all joyful, and I was still miserable and still not looking forward to it. The night before the ultrasound, I was just laying in bed and praying, God, please let me fall in love with this baby when I see its heartbeat. Lord, just change my heart. Let me appreciate this baby and love this baby. Because one thing that I have loved with all my pregnancies is getting to see an early ultrasound before you can even see the buds of the baby's arms and legs. Like, you can see that heartbeat. And it is just a magical thing to see such a tiny figure on a screen and see that heartbeat flickering. And so I knew just how glorious that moment is. of what I've gone through in the past. And so that night before, just praying, Lord, please let me fall in love with this baby. And so went to the appointment. The ultrasound technician starts doing the ultrasound, and I look up at the screen and there are 2 heartbeats. And I can't explain how much I needed that. In the moment I cried because I was happy and sad, because not only was I doing this again, but it was about to get harder, and the technician knew from her experience that they were most likely identical. And so I cried again that not only am I going to be taking care of 2 babies, but they're going to be very hard to tell apart. And so there was so many emotions going through at that point, joyous and what am I gonna do, anxiety kind of thoughts. But the funny thing is I caught it before the technician could even tell me. Rewind to when I found out when the pregnancy test became positive. I was so angry. I tried to tell God, like, this is it. I'm not having any more babies. This is my last pregnancy. We're not doing this again. I did not want this for many years down the road, and we're not doing this. And in that moment of trying to boss God around, I felt like he was just sitting back kind of and being like, we're gonna see who's in control here. And so seeing 2 heartbeats, incredible. Guys, I was only like 5 or 6 weeks pregnant at that time, and just seeing, they got both of them right there, like my first instant seeing it, they were both on there. There was no mistaking it. And so when I asked the technician, I was like, is that 2? She looked at me, she goes, I didn't know how to tell you. I was like, I kind of expected it. So, and I can sit here now and tell you guys that I needed it. I needed 2 babies, because honestly, I think if it had just been 1 and I was going through the same old routine that I had done for the previous, what was that now, like 5 years of having 4 kids, or 6 years and having 4 kids, like if I had just gone through the same old routine again, I think I probably could have easily fallen back in the pattern of postpartum depression. Now, after the twins were born, in the first 2 months, there were a couple of days that I caught myself having some bad thoughts, and then I thought, you know what? No, we're not thinking this way, because if I allow myself to continue these thoughts, we are gonna go and continue in that pattern that you just came out of and hated. So I really, the blessing of twins is real. Like, they are such a huge blessing, and even though it's harder in some ways, it's so much more joyous in others, and I needed it. I needed the change. I needed the difference of not just taking care of 1 baby, but the joy and the hardship that comes together of watching these miracles just be in our home. I hope that this is encouraging to others. It's hard. I had felt just trapped and fearful and had no clue how in the world I was already going to take care of my 4 kids that I had, let alone bring another life into the mix that I felt like I couldn't handle. But it's been amazing, and I am so thankful for them, and I am so thankful for this experience, even that lowest low of not knowing what to do and not wanting to turn to anyone and to just pretend like it never happened. I do want you to be encouraged, though, that if you are going through a difficult time, if you're going through postpartum depression, any kind of depression, if you have a pregnancy that you were not planning and you're not sure how things are gonna go, I just want to tell you, press into the Lord and seek Him and pray and pray and pray, and seek out others that can be an encouragement in your life. Because when you let things go and go with it, and you fight for it, and you get to see such miracles in your life. And it's so worth the hard days to push through them and see what's to come. And I'm still in a really hard season of life. I've got 6 kids my oldest is 7 now, and it's hard. There's a lot to take care of and a lot to do, but I have learned so many things through this that I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys through this. We just had to start at the beginning. And sometimes the beginning's not all that glamorous, and sometimes the beginning isn't really something that we like to share. But acknowledging where you start from and where you have come from, there's power in that. And because you get to look at the journey, and the complete journey is the amazing thing to see. I would love to hear about your stories, about how God has shown up in amazing ways in your life. So if you would comment below and share with everybody something, it doesn't have to be as deep like what I just shared, but even something that you have noticed today or this last week, or something in this last year that you have learned and God has just shown up in an amazing way. I just ask for you to share that in the comments below, and just let's encourage each other to keep pressing on. Thank you so much for joining me and shedding a tear with me. And yeah, next week won't be quite so teary. I'm hoping, I assume, but I'm thankful to be able to have this opportunity, and I'm thankful for you taking the time to listen. And I just pray that this week is just an uplifting week for you, and that God shows up in an amazing way.